I tell you what, Welcome to Derry, man. Episode 3, man. I love when I watch something, man, and I just get glued to it. When I watched that last night, I it reminded me how much I miss watching stuff that I used to love to watch back in the early 2000s when I used to, get off work and work on all my jobs. I used to come home and I watch Smallville on one day, I would watch House on another, and I would watch Bones on another day. I'd watch Fringe. I would watch Lost, and I love Lost because Lost was good. After season 4, I dropped out because it just I just thought the first three seasons was awesome. But man, I tell you what, when I watched it last night, it just sucked me in right away, man. That cast and everybody they keep introducing, just I get impressed every time. I like when they went to the Indian tribe. I really love that because I'm sentimental to the Indians because I got you know uh, background and just I'm sentimental to the Indians. So uh, I love the fact that they were just they were in this episode and they were concerned about their land and stuff, and then there was a tie-in with one of the main guys in the military and this Indian woman, and they went back to. I like how they went back into the 30s. I thought that was impressive, and I ain't gonna lie, man. Wow, man. I am really loving this. They are really getting into what they're doing, man. I am very impressed. I can't get enough of this show. I like this show so much. It's almost like I like it as much as I do when I watch From. From's coming out next year, so I'm looking very forward to that. But this it, man. But man, when Scatman Scutters, Scatman, the guy that played in Shining, the black guy that was bald head, that guy that's doing all this can see stuff. That's Scatman, Scatman. I forgot his last name, Crutters or something. Anyway, he was in The Shining. I like how they reference that, but I love how they're going back into the 30s, and that's them set pieces and that set design and how they're making it, and also when it's over. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. A lot of y'all are into that behind the scenes and exclusive interviews with all that, but I ain't gonna lie. I always, every week, I actually, sit and listen to them talk after it's over, and it shows how they filmed it and stuff. It's very interesting, man. I gotta give them people credit. The acting is real good. The acting is real good. I ain't gonna lie, you guys. I'm digging this. Yeah. See, the thing was, I was gonna turn on my HBO Max like in February, and I was gonna like I way I can just binge watch it, but I just couldn't wait. So I have no problem doing it week to week. But man, when they went back into the 1930s, I'm like, oh, they're going back into those. They call them those gangster wannabes that they all end up shooting and killing. The town turned against these guys that was wreaking havoc on Derry. There was these gangsters, and the town had enough of it, and the town ended up, shooting them gangsters up. I hope. I ain't gonna lie, man. They can do so much with this. I mean, this can go 3 or 4 seasons if they did it right. If they don't rush it, Like I said, I was talking to a guy at work. He's an engineer, and he's like, I just don't know what else you can do with it. I said, there's all kinds of stuff you can do with it. He goes, yeah, but he goes dormant for this many years, and then he comes back and he does the same thing, and he messes with a group of children. I was like, so I said, man, I like to see the origin of it. I like to see, when that thing first got there. Where did it come from? Just there's so much you could do with this, man. But I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I'm enjoying this, and I'll put this out to you guys. I gotta really stop worrying about the views, which I really ain't anymore. I gotta stop worrying about subscribers and all that, which I ain't really doing that anymore. Uh, I gotta start dropping these videos like I drop them because I want to be able to talk like this I feel comfortable talking like this because I'm just saying it how I would talk to a normal person. But man, this thing is just man, this is good. You know, they're doing a good job with this, man. My hat's off to the whole team that's doing this, man. This, you know, if I I don't like keeping streaming services, to be honest with you, per se. You know, I have all these movies and DVDs and video games that I got access with my fingertips. To just I would like to own this, but the problem is I would like to own it after it's over. You know, I don't want to buy it. Uh, you know, like right now. You know, I want to wait till it's completely over. But I think they can do 3 seasons of this. But I'm just trying to figure out if they let's just. But right now, let's just worry about this season and. Uh, this has got to be trending, man. There's got to be a lot of people that's watching this, man. To me, uh, I told my daughter about it. My daughter said she's gonna check it out because I told her I said you got to check it out because what my daughter's been doing is she's been catching up with Stranger Things because a lot of people are watching Stranger Things so they can get ready for the new Stranger Things that's coming out. And when she told me that, I was like, that's a good idea, but man, I don't know if I can go through Stranger Things again, man. I don't know if I want to watch all, last season, which was, 3 years ago? It takes so long to make Stranger Things anymore. I just don't know if I want to go through it just so I can be ready for season 5. But I told her, I said, hey, I'm checking out it. Welcome to Derry. She goes, yeah, I want to watch that now. I said, you should check it out. I said, it is good. But man, last night I watched that and I just like, this is old TV. Now, what I mean by old TV, this is before all the streaming services got big. I mean, you always had Netflix, so you can't throw Netflix in the thing. And I'll put this out there. I don't want Netflix to buy Warner Brothers, but I don't want Netflix to buy Warner Brothers out of hate. A lot of y'all hate Netflix, and I don't get why. Netflix is Netflix. Netflix is wanting stuff on Netflix. I don't know if they always been that way, but I think Netflix would do good if they would put some of their movies in a theater for just 2 weeks. And what's the harm? You know, put it in the theaters for 2 weeks. That way you can shut the haters up. Because if I was Netflix, I'd be like, we're going to put this movie in the theater for 3 weeks. I'm going to shut y'all up. And then after that, it goes on our site. The problem, I think a lot of people hate Netflix because let's just say Netflix has a good show that comes out and then people want to own it physically. Netflix has a knack of not wanting to put stuff on physical copies because there's a lot of stuff on Netflix I like to own, but I don't think I like to own Rim of the World, and I also like to own Mitchell's versus Machine. But Netflix ain't gonna come off that. Netflix keeping that on that side. You want to watch the Mitchells versus the Machines, and you want to watch Rim of the World, which is two. You got to stay with Netflix. But I've been with Netflix forever, so I just throwing that out there. But I've always liked HBO Max, but I just wish that Warner Brothers weren't up for sale. I just wish they could just cut their losses somehow and just downsize and just say, hey, we screwed up. Now we got everything together. Now we're gonna just because I just think a lot of movies now just the budget need to be trimmed down. Just watch how you spend your money, I guess. Might be a lot of stuff you have to turn. Because a lot of times people want a lot of money to make movies. And sometimes movie industry's like, I'm just not giving you that much money to make this movie. If you can't make this movie for this amount, I'm not giving you that kind of money. These companies got to start putting their foot down. And, they are putting their foot down. I mean, there's some of them are starting to say, no, I'm not giving you that kind of money. I know Tom Cruise, there was an article where I read that Tom Cruise and somebody else won almost $300 million to make this movie they came up with. And they looked at the script. They said, it's a good script. But I ain't giving y'all no 300 and something $1 million. Tom Cruise, your movies didn't even make no money last year. Your Mission Impossible movies, they're good. But that last one didn't do that good, I ain't saying I'm a big Tom Cruise fan, but you got to put your foot down, These $250 million budget movies or $350 million movie things that they're trying to pump out. Christopher Nolan, he can get away with that, but I don't know how much longer he can get away with that either. But he could pull it off. But anyway, you guys, welcome to welcome to Derry, man. I got a little sidetracked, man. Man, I'll tell you. Like I said, back in the old style TV, and y'all probably think old style. You talking about way back? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about 2000, 2001, 2003, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 6, 7, 8, 9, right around 10, 11, and 12, they went south, everything took a nosedive for me. But I remember I used to come home and I was dating this girl I was really in love with. I thought I was going to marry this girl. She used to, when we got together, she wanted to watch House. And she wanted, when we got cable turned on, man, she had me set that DVR on. She would get off work and she'd wake me up because she's on a different shift. And she'd wake me up and I'd talk to her for a little bit. And boy, she'd sit down and watch House. So that's the reason why I'm saying old TV, because back in the day, the early 2000s, you had all these good shows on. Mine was Smallville. I couldn't wait to get home to watch Smallville. I think it came on Wednesday. Bones came on Tuesday. And then House came on Thursday. Or was it Fringe that came on Thursday? But anyway, these are the ones that I really enjoyed. And so when I was watching Welcome to Derry, I never moved. Man. It was on HBO Max, man. I put that bad boy on pause, and I don't eat that much junk food because I'm always on to watching what I eat. But man, I had a half a bag of smoked, uh, you know, smoked chips. Was just a little bit, a couple handfuls. I went in there and got that and got me a bottle of water, and I sit down and I sat down. And I unpaused it, hit play, and I just sit there and was eating those chips and watching it. God, it made me feel so good. Just took me back to, like I said, Smallville. I think came on Wednesday. Bones came on Tuesday, I think. House maybe came on Tuesday, but I know there was one week that something would come on at 8 and the next one would come on at 9. Then Fringe came on Thursday, and then Lost would come on Sunday. And then you had uh, Under the Dome that came on, and then you also had uh, you know, there was another one that came on. I can't think of the name, but it was good. Revolution came on, and I used to sit down and watch that. Man, I never was squirmish. I never was squirmish. I never was anything. But now I'm squirmish when I watch stuff. I feel like something's missing when I watch stuff. Except when I watch Welcome to Derry. When I watch Welcome to Derry, I'm glued to it. It reminds me when I was watching, all the shows I just told you prior. And also, when I watch From, I have no problem when From comes on, which comes on in March of 2026. I told y'all to check out From. Uh, I I never move. I never squirm. I never do anything. I just sit there. That's what I did with Smallville. That's what I did with House. That's what I did with Bones. That's what I did with Friends. That's what I did with X-Files when X-Files was out in the early 90s. Revolution when they first came out. Yeah. Grimm. I love Grimm. I liked all the Grimm except for the last season. The last season they kind of like threw in the towel, just kind of like did whatever because they knew they got canceled. But Grimm was so freaking good. I was so disappointed that Netflix didn't pick them up, but I don't think that. And then I'm just using all this. But anyway, you guys, I told you I was gonna drop these type of videos week to week, man. But yeah, I ain't lying, man. I miss this. I miss this feeling I had watching TV. Watching shows. I don't have that anymore. You got all these streaming services, and I'm gonna put this out to you guys. I'm just not that streaming service hater. I think they both can share the same space. I think that streaming services can make money, but they're afraid. Here's what I think streaming services should do. Netflix and all of them. Swallow your pride and just start making money hand over foot. Because Netflix is afraid that if they start selling physical copies of their stuff, then people would get off their site. I get that too. And then Shudder is the only one that makes originals, and Shudder's got another one coming out that's good. I seen Shutter is kicking some butt, man. Shutter is rocking. But anyway, Shutter makes their stuff, but they sell their stuff on physical. So Shutter's got people on subscribe, but they make stuff, but they get money back by making it on physical. I just don't know why Netflix can't do that. You know, Netflix can also do a limited run. There was a company called Limited Run as a video game, if you guys are not familiar. Limited run means limited run, a limited run. So Netflix could do a limited run. Say, hey, we're gonna give this out on physical. I know you guys like it. It's first come, first serve. And no, we ain't making no more. You know, so they could charge like $35 a pop. Now you guys sit there, and nothing y'all physical copy people worry about is like, oh, physical copies, you know, is going extinct and we own nothing and all that kind of stuff. Well, you know what? They're charging a lot of money for physical copies. They're charging a lot of money for, you know, the cheapest one is DVD. And then the next one is Blu-ray. And, you know, now they're getting into this exclusively only on Steelbook because they want to charge you more money. But the way I look at it, it's starting to be a niche market. So if you want physical, and you want to keep physical going, then you want to start shelling out that money. It's just as simple as that. They got to print the disc. They got to put all that stuff on there. And a lot of you physical collaborator, you know, people out there are mad because, well, I paid all that kind of money and they didn't have no behind the scenes and no interview with this, and that. You know that costs money, right? You guys really know that costs money, right? Then you want to, and then they go, well, I understand what your name wasn't on there, but they at least could have had so-and-so and so-and-so. And at the end of the day, it costs money. Posters and all the stuff that they put in some of these box sets. I'm with you guys on the physical thing. I'm with you 100%. But what I am saying that if you want physical copies to keep going, then you got to go out there and support them. What we need is the Gen Zs to start buying them. If you can get those Gen Zs to start buying physical copies, then the movie industry will start being in trouble because they're going to be like, holy crap, we can still make money. I'm old school. I think that all the movies should do a theatrical run. I ain't going to lie. I don't care about the, oh, we got to get it out there so we can get our money back. No, you need to at least, to me, do a 35-day run at the theaters. 35 days. And do another 35 days when you put it on digital and rental to buy. You got digital rental and digital to buy. I do that for 35 or 40 days. And then I would go to putting the physical copy out. But I ain't gonna lie. If you guys want to support these people, then you're gonna have to start dropping. I'm sorry, man. $24 to $30 if you want this stuff to be supported. I'm sorry, man. It's got to be, you know, they shouldn't do that. You need to realize that stuff is expensive to make. Stuff is expensive to produce. If you're an actor, you want money. You got to pay them people. The production costs, the lighting, plugging stuff into the wall, all the stuff that's, I just don't understand people's concept of thinking. Like, for instance, and I'm done here. Do you know how much streaming services should cost? Do you know how much streaming services should cost? You guys ain't gonna like this, but Netflix should be $30, man. HBO Max should be $30. $30 a month. Disney Plus, as much as Disney Plus sucks with all that woke stuff they put out, and I like Disney still, $30. Apple should be $30 because Apple got some good stuff. They just don't have that much. Now y'all's like, well, then we couldn't afford it. I get that. But at the end of the day, man, they need $30 a month. If they got $30 a month and then they go $32 a month, then you can frown. Because you'd be like, look, $30 is way more than enough. I want you to think about this. I get it. You say, well, you ain't going to pay no $30 a month. I probably would for one or two. But I don't know if I pay $60 a month for 2 streaming services. So that's where the streaming services got themselves in a bind. They got themselves in a bind because deep down in the bowels of their soul, they should be charging $30, but you'd be going back to cable. Now, I'm saying this to make people mad. No, I'm just giving you my theory. I just think streaming services should be $30. $30. And stuff like Peacock should be $25. Peacock should be $20 a month. And Paramount Plus should be $25 a month. They could be $32. They could be $30 too, but here's the problem. You can't afford that. But then you can. Because when you go to a theater and you drop $9.25 for 4 tickets, that's a chunk of change for a couple hours of sitting in the theater. Right? So let's say you have, just stick with me. If you have 1.5, 2.5, let's just say 3.5 million people subscribe to Apple because there's something on there that is hot. $30 a pop. That is 3.5 million people that wanted to tune in to whatever was hot on Apple. So Apple's like, holy crap, we got all this money for this season. Netflix is another one. Netflix was like, holy crap, we got the biggest subscriber base and we charge $30 for that season. That month alone at $30, even if people would, so because you always got the option to jump from subscriber to subscriber. It's the same thing as the video industry. When that video game comes out, and it's finally coming out, you better bet they got to be sweating bullets, man, because they done pumped so much money into making that video game. They need at least, the way video games are anymore, video games, man, they need to sell at least 20 million copies, 20 million or 18 to 20 million copies. I forgot how that is, but I'm just trying to give you this idea that, you probably sit there and go, that's just not feasible. I get it, but you can jump from streaming services to streaming services. Nobody's telling you to stay. But I'm just trying to give you this idea that, hey, last time I went to the theater, I paid $9 for my buddy, $9 for my friend, and $9 for my son. And it was an IMAX theater. So I dropped, let's just say, 10, 20, 30, 40. I dropped $40 to go see Jurassic Park Rebirth for 2 hours. And you guys can't do that for 30 days? A lot of y'all out there got to stop wanting something for nothing. You should have known daggone better, man, that when they charge something at a cheap price, you didn't think they was going to. I mean, I look at some of the stuff that they put out on these streaming services. I was like, man, that had to cost an arm and a leg. They're only charging us $6 and some cent a month. Obviously, it was going to go up. And you knew they was going to go up every month. Either they're going to go out of business or they got to come up with a different strategy. But me personally, I'm not saying I want them to charge us $30. But I'm saying that if you look at the streaming industry, if you understand what I'm saying, is that the streaming industries and all the stuff that they're making, I'm like, man, that's got to be costly. They probably would wish they could just charge $30 and people would be okay with it. But people ain't going to be okay with it. So they got themselves in a bind. That's all I'm saying. But after watching it, back to it, welcome to Derry, episode 3, and you're talking about a chef's kiss. It's just getting better and better. And I'm telling you, man, they could do a lot. Because y'all know the thing about it comes out every 22 years, that entity, that thing it does. But man, that episode last night was off the hook. It was off the hook. But anyway, little rant there about stuff, but it's just my little theory. I ain't sitting there saying that I want to pay $30, but I'm sitting there saying that, because if they did, they probably lose a ton of subscribers, And then all y'all start buying physical copies, then wouldn't you? Yeah, see? Yeah. Because see, if the internet ever go down, you big diehard digital people, you're going to be in a world of hurt because you ain't going to be able to watch nothing because you're so in love with the digital thing. So if the internet goes off, because you need internet to watch your digital stuff. I got physical copies. All I need is electricity. God bless. We'll catch you next video. We'll see.